Hi there, and welcome to Healthy Body, Healthy Mind, Happy Life. I am Jackie Crinis, and I'm a certified life coach. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up in Los Angeles, and as my husband loves to say, I went to work for the local factory. The factory was the entertainment industry. And specifically, I worked in the television business for over 30 years. I worked for various companies, including big networks and big studios like Columbia TriStar, 20th Century Fox, ABC, and USA. I was responsible for buying, developing, and shepherding hundreds of hours of television series, many of which were Emmy and Golden Globe winners. And like you would imagine, there were elements of an exciting and glamorous life. It included a lot of travel and networking, meeting celebrities and famous people from all over the world. But like so many industries, it can take over your life. And there is very little separation between work and home. So in my last position as Executive Vice President of Programming, I was also married, raising 3 daughters, and trying to maintain some semblance of work-life balance, which was very, very difficult. So while I had tremendous success in my former career, I suffered from chronic anxiety, insomnia, headaches, stomach aches, and a whole bunch of other chronic stress-related pains. I spent a fortune on chiropractors, acupuncturists, therapists, medical doctors, dietitians, yogis, massage therapists, you name it, I did it. And I did it because I was looking for a cure to quell my busy, busy life, a cure for my growing anxiety and overwhelm. And I had made a small attempt to engage in more work-life balance when we moved our family to Hawaii, and I telecommuted for a number of years. I think I was the first TV executive who ever telecommuted. This was way pre-COVID. But as the famous saying goes, no matter where you go, there you are. I was just as stressed out living in Hawaii and telecommuting as I was living in LA and working in my corner office. But I did it for 5 years. And what did I do next to manage my stress? I went back to LA for a bigger job for 3 more years. And at the end of that contract, I was faced with the decision to sign another multi-year contract, gain more visibility, more opportunity, pile on more stress, and create even less work-life balance. Or I could choose a new path. And so after 30 years, I chose to step off the fast-paced treadmill. And my family and I decided to move back to Hawaii, but I was not ready to retire. I was way too young and still had a lot of energy. So I had to figure out what was I going to do for my second act. And more importantly, what was I going to do this time to make me happy? Well, my transition from television executive to life coach was not a linear one. I made a few stops along the road. I was an independent producer, I was a blogger, I became a certified yoga instructor, and then finally, I became a certified life coach. So what does a high-powered television executive teach you about becoming a life coach? Well, actually, everything. In my former career, I listened to people's stories. And while television is mostly fiction, usually there was always a character's backstory that was based on the writer or someone the writer knew. This is what I loved most about my job. I loved interacting with individuals on a personal level. I loved hearing their stories and helping them find the gold for their series. But television was not life-changing enough for me. I made other people rich and I made people famous. But the dog-eat-dog, day-in, day-out political nature of corporate life and the treadmill of that career just became too much. It robbed me of my peace and my tranquility. I had a big, beautiful life, but I was too busy to enjoy it. I felt like I was a prisoner of other people's schedules, demands, and agendas, 24/7. And the truth is that I went to school in hopes of becoming a doctor, a healer. Television or Hollywood was just something I fell into. Like my husband said, I went to work at the local factory as a last-minute decision instead of going to medical school. So now that I was finally able to take a pause and really figure out what I wanted to do, I made a bold choice. And that's why I became a life coach, with the intention of helping other people who felt stuck in their lives, whether they were successful or not. I wanted to help coach people create work-life balance and have more joy. Rather than listening to people pitch their stories for a television series, I now listen to people's stories and try to find ways to help them feel better in their own lives. So today's talk is about the habits that I believe make for the greatest foundation for a happier life, the daily habits. And there's a lot of books on these subjects about what are the successful habits, or what are the most successful habits of successful people. This is not so much that. This is not about just achieving professional success. This is about achieving personal success so that you can go on to achieve whatever success your heart desires, if that's personal or professional. But I think it starts with taking care of the body and the mind. So as a life coach, my philosophy is that by developing good daily habits and managing your thoughts, you find greater health and happiness. So today I'm going to talk about those principles in which I encourage all of my clients to incorporate into their daily lives. And I start with what I refer to as the basics, or the non-negotiables. This is something I recorded in a podcast. I have a podcast called Joy Hunting, and the first episode was about hacking the holidays, and I created the acronym of home for the holidays. But it really isn't about holiday advice, it's about everyday advice. And home is an acronym to help you remember what are the 4 essential things you need to be doing all day, every day, to maintain a healthy body. So here we go. The H in home is for hydrate. I always say, get yourself a water bottle, fill it up, and find a way to love it. And I've heard all the excuses. I don't like water, water's boring, it doesn't taste good, I forget to drink it. There's a million. But find something that makes you like to drink it. Put some lemon in it, put some strawberries, put a cucumber, ice it, room temperature, hot water with lemon, honey. It doesn't matter. Just get hydrated. Every day, 8 glasses a day minimum. If you live in a hot climate, or if you're an athlete, you might need more. But hydration is the key to homeostasis. And homeostasis is the balance that your body needs to stay in harmony. So I know you've read tons of articles, and I know you've heard tons of podcasts on this, but I'm going to remind you, why is it necessary to hydrate? Well, the benefits of hydration are it quells hunger. So if you have a bad habit of overeating or snacking, sometimes it's just dehydration. Drinking water can curb your appetite. Water can be preventative in managing anxiety. It's not a cure, but sometimes the body feels anxious because it's out of balance. And so by hydrating, we bring it back into balance. Again, quelling the feeling of possibly being anxious. It combats fatigue. So again, when the body is dehydrated, it wants to shut down. It may feel tired. Sometimes having a glass of water, or regularly drinking 64 ounces of water a day, will help prevent fatigue. It helps better skin. It can be preventative for acne. It can certainly prevent wrinkles to some degree. It hydrates the skin. It can balance out oils. It can just make your skin glow. It increases better organ function. This goes for the kidney, the liver, the adrenal glands, the heart, the lungs, everything. Every organ benefits from water. It can be preventative in kidney stones, particularly if you are highly caffeinated, which there is a correlation between high caffeine and kidney stones. So water can prevent those too. So water is kind of a secret sauce. You'll hear me say that term a lot, but it is a secret sauce, and it's relatively inexpensive and usually very available. Just make sure it's clean and purified and start drinking. So H is for hydrate. So the next letter of home is O, and O is for observe your levels. And I like to equate the body to a car, because when we let our car run out of gas or oil, or we don't change the oil, it stops running, and it certainly stops running well. It tends to overheat, it tends to get sluggish, it tends to make noises. The same is true for your body. So one of the levels you observe, of course, is hydration, but we've talked about that with H. But the other two key levels to observe are your sleep and what you're eating. So let's talk about sleep first. So sleep is elusive for a lot of people, and a lot of that has to do with what you're eating. So a good bedtime routine is really important. Scheduling your sleep is really important. I mean, you don't have to be down to the minute, but you should have a pretty good idea about what time you need to go to bed to figure out how many hours of sleep do you need. Now, everybody is different. Some people survive on very little sleep. Most people need about 8 hours. So you want to schedule about 7 or 8. You want to set a bedtime, and sometimes that's dictated by your work. So you're going to have to back it up from there. But the trick to good sleep habits comes from sleeping in a cool room. And if you live, again, in a hot climate, a fan or an air conditioner is really helpful. You want to have not too much weight on your body. I know everybody likes a heavy blanket because it makes them feel secure, but you want to make sure everything breathes well. You want to eat not too late. You want to make sure that you have plenty of time to digest your food before you go to sleep. And you want to avoid caffeinated beverages anytime after about 4 o'clock. Earlier is better. That's some of the tips for getting a better night's rest. But we're going to get into more as we get further into the HOME acronym. But rest is really important. So schedule it, honor it, and make sure you're getting enough of it. Because when we don't get enough sleep, we often have that jagged energy, that anxiety, and sometimes depression. So the other element of observe your levels is food. What you're eating, how often you're eating, how much you're eating. And I'm not talking about a diet per se. I'm really talking about being mindful about what you eat and when you eat. So if you're one of those people who forget to eat all day and then you're ravenous and you're suddenly finding yourself at a drive-through for fast food, or grabbing junk, or you're self-medicating with food, you're grabbing coffee instead of actual food because you need to stay awake, or sugar, or salt because it's satisfying and immediate. I'm not suggesting that you never have caffeine or never have sugar or never have salt. I'm suggesting that if you are more mindful about when you eat, scheduling when you eat, planning what you will probably eat, you will be more successful in avoiding snacking and self-medicating with caffeine and sugar and alcohol. So observe your levels the same way you would your car. You check your gas tank every time you get in it. There's a reminder light for your oil. And there's probably a service light in your car too. Create that in your own calendar for your own body every day. Think about when are you going to eat and what are you going to eat. And if you can, prepare the meals ahead so that you're not in that ravenous state of grabbing that first thing that's processed or fast food. So the next one on the list, M, is meditate. Meditate is a lot like hydrate in that there are many, many people who hear the word meditate and they're like, oh no, I can't do it. I've tried it. It's too hard. I forget. I can't. My mind is too busy. It doesn't settle down. People like me can't meditate. So I'm laughing because that was me for about 50 years. I can't meditate. I don't have the time to meditate. It doesn't work for me. I can't quell my thoughts. The truth is, if you're saying any one of those things, you need meditation more than anyone. But it doesn't have to be hard. Meditation can be learned over time. It is a practice. There is no expert meditators. Maybe there's some gurus and yogis who are really fabulous at it. But the truth is, we just need to sit quietly a few minutes every day and breathe. In the absence of technology, in the absence of responsibility, we just need to create time for ourselves and space. So if that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just the practice, the action of sitting quietly every day and giving yourself the gift of peace is meditation. Now, if that is still too difficult for you, there are tons of training programs. There's transcendental meditation. There's apps on your phone. YouTube has meditation. There's the Headspace app. There's the Calm app. I offer one episode of Beginner's Guide to Meditation on my podcast, Joy Hunting. But I'm also going to come up with a series for beginners of a 5-day challenge, 5 minutes of guided meditation every day, and that will drop on my podcast on Labor Day. So if you are interested in taking the challenge to learn how to meditate 5 days in a row for 5 minutes with some guided help, I invite you to try that out this Labor Day. So, and that is September 7th that will be available. The last letter of the HOME acronym is E, exercise. Any form, every day. It doesn't have to be yucky. If you love the gym, go to the gym. If you hate the gym, don't worry about it. You don't have to be a marathon runner. You don't have to be a triathlete. You don't have to be an Ironman to get exercise every day. You just need to take a walk around the block, in your neighborhood, home from work, wherever is safe and whatever is easy. But just get in the habit of exercising every single day. Now, if you have somebody to walk with, that makes the time go faster. A lot of people love putting in their headphones and listening to music or a book on Audible. That's great. If you have kids, play ball with them in the yard. If you have a dog, go to the dog park and play with them there. Run around. It doesn't really matter what you do. Take up a sport, join a team, stretch in front of the TV, buy an app. There's videos, YouTube. There's a million ways to get exercise, and do something you love. I know people who literally turn on dance music every day and just dance in their living room by themselves for 15 minutes. That's great. Anything. Start with 15 minutes, schedule it the same way you do your food, the same way you do your meditation. Just create 15 minutes to move your body. It will release endorphins. It will manage your brain. It will make you feel good. And if you're ever looking to lose weight, it'll burn a few calories too. But even for those of you in perfect shape, exercise is just as important for the mind as it is for the body. So that's HOME. That's the acronym to remember the essentials. H is for hydrate. O is for observe your levels, which means food and sleep. M is to meditate, and E is to exercise. That's it. That's how you best take care of your physical body. But now let's talk about emotional health. And emotional health really starts with your thoughts. Managing your thoughts is important as managing your body. But how do you start? You start with observing how you talk to yourself. Many people find that they unconsciously have a lot of negative self-talk. They look in the mirror and they say, oh, I'm fat. Or they get something wrong and they say, oh, I'm stupid. Or they make a mistake and they say, I'm such an idiot. Your body hears that. So it may feel like a throwaway. You may have done it to be funny. At some point, you may have done it as a habit. You may have done it because it was a learned behavior in your family. You may have done it because you're trying to prevent somebody else from judging you first. I'm telling you, you need to stop, because that negative self-talk seeps into your cells and influences how you feel about yourself. So I know you think it doesn't mean much. It actually means a lot. And it's really helpful to identify where that negative self-talk comes from. And oftentimes it comes from what I refer to, and others have referred to, as your inner critic. And your inner critic may have been somebody when you were a child, your mom, your dad, a sibling, a grandparent, an authority figure, a principal, a teacher. It may have been somebody who always told you you were doing something wrong. And you may have developed an unconscious habit of perpetuating the inner critic. It may come in a different form. You may not see their face or even hear their voice anymore. It's now become you. But you have the opportunity to stop the inner critic from taking over your life, because that inner critic sometimes is what's blocking you from your success. So I invite you to pay attention to the next time you say something negative to yourself, about yourself, or even think something negative about yourself. See if you can turn that around. See if you can find something positive to say that feels true and organic. I mean, if you're 100 pounds overweight, are you going to look in the mirror and say, oh, you're looking thin today? Maybe not. But could you find something lovely to say about your body? Like your body is working. It's breathing. It went for a walk today. It ate a salad for lunch. It had 8 glasses of water. Remind yourself of what you've done well instead of what you haven't succeeded at today. So here's another trick to managing emotional health besides quelling the inner critic. Get yourself a journal, a notebook, small, large, something that appeals to you, and carry it everywhere you go, along with your water bottle. And I want you to start keeping track of your home in your journal. Hydration, observe your levels, meditation, and exercise. I want you to record what you're eating and drinking and how you're sleeping and whether or not you meditated and did you exercise. Hold yourself accountable. And not to create a guilt or shame spiral, but to just create awareness and see how you are succeeding and give yourself a pat on the back for everything you've done well that day that you wrote it down. Now, if physically writing is just not appealing to you and the idea of either carrying a journal or having a journal with you at all times is just too onerous, you can use your phone. There's plenty of apps to write down things. Just make sure it's in a part of your phone where you can easily access it, where you can easily find it accessible, and that you create space so that that part of your phone is the journal, whether it's in your memos or wherever you want to keep it. But you don't want it in a million different places. You want it someplace where you can refer back to it. You want the page dated so you can see your progress. And you can also do this on a computer. But just keep writing it down. The other thing you're going to want to journal, besides your keeping track of your home, is you're going to want to write down those negative thoughts that come up through the inner critic. Because you're not going to get rid of the inner critic just by identifying it. And you're not going to get rid of the inner critic by asking it to go away. This is like meditation. This is a practice. This is a daily practice. But what helps quell the inner critic is by creating a list of things that are bothering you. We call it a negative thought download. And you just get it out of your system one sentence at a time. And if you don't have any negative thoughts, then you move on to the next writing exercise, which is gratitude. Always end your day or start your day with gratitude. Find something to be grateful for. Anything. It doesn't always have to be a promotion or a marriage proposal or a new car or a new home. Those are big things, and they're great when they happen. But it's about observing your life and finding the little things in life that you feel gratitude for. Things like, did you have a hot shower today? Running water, a great cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea? Do you have a dog or a cat? Maybe you found a penny in the parking lot. Maybe the sun was out today. Maybe you had time to take a walk in nature. Maybe you called an old friend. Maybe somebody smiled at you in the elevator. Be grateful. Look for things to be grateful for. It will change you energetically. And then when you write them down, it's like doubling down on the good energy. This is what's known as practicing gratitude. Now, will hydrating and eating regularly and sleeping regularly and meditating and exercising and journaling cure anxiety and depression and addiction or financial problems, marital problems, or serious illness? No, they're not cures. But I guarantee you that if you do these things every day, you will start achieving the life that you want, because you will be healthier and happier. You will feel more in control of your life. You will feel more empowered. And what happens is when we start feeling more control, more empowered, more grateful, we start attracting more things we would like to have in our life. It will save you a fortune in medication, doctor's offices, feeling bad. It will change everything for you with very, very small steps. So don't expect to achieve it all at once. Hopefully you were able to take some notes during this lecture. And if not, you're welcome to visit my website at jackiedecrenis.com. That's JACKIEDECRINIS.com. And there you can sign up for my newsletter, which gives you helpful tips about how to manage stress. It will also link you to my podcast, Joy Hunting, where I talk about all of these concepts and many more. And if you still would like some help achieving the life you've always dreamed of, I encourage you to get in touch with me. I offer one-on-one coaching, and I would love to help you find your best life. I thank you for sharing your time with me today, wishing you peace and joy. Have a great day.